Alright there guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're starting up a 5-part mini-series on my top 25 favourite video games of all time. I've been wanting to make this list for a while. Say the same with my top 28 Call of Duty Zombies maps list videos that I did not too long ago. Because if you guys remember, my second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth list videos on my channel happen to be my top 10 favourite video games of all time, which was also a 5-part mini-series, but I did 2 games per video. This time we're doing 5 games per video, so we're going to be doing games 25, 24, 23, 22 and 21 in this episode. Part 2 will be 20, 19, 18, 17 and 16. Part 3, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Part 4, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And Part 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, every video I will have the... I won't have part 1, it won't say part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 in the video. Instead, it'll just have the numbers that I cover. So, the title of this video will be Top 25 Favourite Games. Top 25 Favourite Games, in brackets, 25-21. In the brackets, which is what this video is. So enough of how I'm structuring the series. Let's get straight into it. Coming in at the number 25 spot is Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time. This game was the 3rd installment in the PS3 trilogy of Ratchet and Clank, because we had the original trilogy of Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando, and Ratchet & Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal on the PS2. But we also had another trilogy on the PS3, which was Tools of Destruction, Quest for Booty, and A Crack in Time. All 3 of those games were linked. And this was the 3rd and final entry in this PS3 trilogy, where for the first time since the end of Tools of Destruction, Clank was awoken inside of the Great Clock that's in the centre of the universe, give or take 50 feet. And basically the entire game is about Ratchet and Clank reuniting, as they spent all of Quest for Booty apart. Quest for Booty stands as the only Ratchet and Clank game where Clank pretty much doesn't even feature in the game at all. But no, we're on about the game afterwards. Ratchet is still on his search for Clank as he goes to various planets throughout the universe, and Clank has to make his way through the Great Clock to try and get out of it. But Ratchet and Clank's most iconic villain, Dr. Nefarious, who is easily the funniest villain in the entire series as well, so that helps. He is basically trying to keep Clank trapped in the Great Clock for as long as possible. But what do I love about this game? Well, the gameplay is the smoothest it had ever been. We had strafing when in combat was at its peak. Every time you leveled up, like, you gain experience by every single enemy you defeat, and then when you gain a full bar of experience, your health increases by 1. In every game prior to this one, your health always only went up by 1 every single time. But this game, your health constantly doubled. Basically, when you leveled up the first time, you got +1 health. When you leveled up the second time, you got +2 health. then +3, +4, +5. Every single time you leveled up, it added even more numbers of health. So for example, you level the 30th time you level up, you get +30 health. It keeps on going up, which was a small feature, but a much needed one, and every game in the series since followed that same formula. But we were introduced to some brand new gadgets, most notably the hover boots. These things were incredible, one of the best additions to the entire franchise. Not only were the hover boots good for mobility and you could move faster with them, but you could make crazy jumps, you could bounce off these pads that were on walls. You could do all sorts of awesome stuff with the hover boots. But the biggest and I think best part of gameplay was actually not with Ratchet. It's when you were playing inside of the Great Clock solely as Clank. Because every time you join Clank, the levels are made harder. Not in terms of difficulty with enemies, but in terms of harder mentally for you to beat. Because you have these pads that allow you to create Clank clones in order to complete puzzles, and every next level in the Great Clock, you get added another Clank, and you have to use these Clanks to step on specific pads in order to get the real Clank to his next destination. They were such great, incredibly well designed puzzles because they were difficult. The first two weren't that bad. The third one was a bit tricky, but it didn't feel impossible. But the fourth and final puzzle, where you have 4 extra Clanks, no joke, you have a green, red, yellow and blue clone of him, 4 extra Clank clones that you all had to put on different parts, and you had to be very specific with your movement to get yourself to the next area. It was so difficult, but that's what makes it so good. Now, the story for this game was also the best out of the 3 games in the PS3 trilogy, because Ratchet met the only other Lombax in the universe, which is his race. That's what he is, a Lombax, called Alistair Azimuth. And this guy helps you throughout the game, right? He's the one that gives you the hover boots. His journey is to search for the rest of the Lombaxes. Like, where have they gone? Why is there so little of them left? Just him and Ratchet, and that's it. But it's right at the end, while Ratchet is venturing through the universe looking for Clank and picking up the Zoni, which were the creatures that kidnapped Clank in the first place, all the way back at the end of Tools of Destruction, all that time ago, that set Ratchet on this journey in the first place. They upgrade your Combustor ship, and you have certain bosses you have to take on in the Combustor, which are difficult but can be dealt with when you know their attack pattern. But the end of the game, you think the final boss of the game is Dr. Nefarious, because you take him on, and then you defeat him, and you think that's it. The final boss of this game is done. But no, Dr. Nefarious was not even the final boss of this game. Alistair Azimuth is the final boss of Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time. Because Clank realizes the purpose he was created in the first place all that time ago was to be the overseer of the Great Clock. He was meant to... It was what The Great Clock is what he was built for, to look over. So Ratchet and Clank walk their way back into the Great Clock, and out of a fit of rage, Alistair Azimuth has these blasts he can shoot out of his wrench. He fires one, and it hits Ratchet, and it knocks him off the cliff and kills him. I mean, this may be unpopular. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but that right there, in my opinion, was one of the biggest video game plot twists in the 2000s. And it happened right at the end of them as well, just before the 2010s started. One of the biggest video game plot twists in the 2000s. And Clank has to run to the middle of the Great Clock, rewind time just enough so that Ratchet can survive. And then after you've used your hover boots on what I guess is kind of another obstacle course, you have to take on Alistair yourself. But yeah, the story and especially the gameplay is what I love about Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time, and that's why it comes in at number 25. Coming in at the number 24 spot is Mario Kart Double Dash. That's right, out of the 3 Mario Kart games I've played, which is Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart Wii, and Mario Kart 8, Wii and Double Dash are the ones I've owned. I've played 8 whenever I've played 8 with Che, but I've never owned it myself. Now, why is Double Dash my favourite Mario Kart game? Well, Mario Kart Double Dash is one of the, if not the most unique Mario Kart game of all time, because it's the only Mario Kart game in history to have 2 races per kart, not 1. You have a driver and an item thrower in Double Dash. It was the first game to include the double item box, which we didn't see return until Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's how long it took to have the double question mark blocks reappear. Now, the tracks in Double Dash are great. We have Wario Coliseum, which is the only ever Mario Kart track in history to have only 2 laps, not 3, because it's such a long track. We also have Baby Park, which was the first Mario Kart course to have 7 laps, and it's the only Mario Kart course to ever have 7 laps, because because every lap can be done in 10 seconds, because it's such a tiny track, and it's very chaotic. Another unique feature to Mario Kart Double Dash is character-specific items. Depending on which characters you play as, you can get their special item. Mario and Luigi have fireballs as their special items. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong have a giant banana. Bowser and Bowser Jr. have a giant shell. Baby Mario and Baby Luigi have a chain chomp. Peach and Daisy have hearts. 2 hearts, which basically means any item that's thrown at them, the next 2 items that are thrown at them become their item. Wario and Waluigi have a Bob-omb. The Koopa Trooper and Paratrooper have 3 green shells or 3 red shells, which then in Mario Kart Wii just became anyone could use it. The game has an incredible Rainbow Road, which every Mario Kart game I've played has a good Rainbow Road, but this one just feels incredible. But I would say Mario Kart Wii has the best Rainbow Road, but Mario Kart Double Dash still has a great one. Everyone's cars are customized to look to the characters you're playing as, such as Wario and Waluigi have a very fancy looking car. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong have a car made out of wood. There's so much detail that go into this game, and on how specific the cars are. Everyone's specific cars look like. Oh, we have Toad and Toadette, whose special item is the Golden Mushroom, which in Mario Kart Wii and 8, anybody can use, not just them. It was the first Mario Kart game that Petey Piranha featured on, and I'm pretty sure it was the first Mario Kart game King Boo appears on. In fact, it's the only Mario Kart game that Petey Piranha has ever featured on, isn't it? As a playable character. So yeah, the gameplay, the tracks, and the uniqueness of the game, and even Mario Kart Double Dash's battle mode is unique. Basically, the battle mode for it is you can have it's basically you have red and blue bob-ombs, depending on which team you're on, and you just throw them at the other team. Whoever gets the most hits wins. So yeah, that's why Mario Kart Double Dash comes in at number 24. Coming in at the number 23 is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. That is right, the third game, the middle game in the series. We have got, before Brawl, we'd had Super Smash Bros. And Super Smash Bros. Melee, and we've had 2 games since Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Wii U/3DS, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which was released on the Switch at the end of 2018. But no, my favourite Smash game is the one in between all of them. It's Brawl. Brawl is my favourite Smash game because it has an incredible roster of characters. Yes, it took some from Melee out to add in new ones, such as we got rid of Roy from Fire Emblem and from Melee, and replaced him with Ike in Fire Emblem for Brawl. We had no Dr. Mario this time, but we had more characters from Mario characters. We had Final Smashers being introduced for the very first time, and they have been in every Smash game since, which is basically their ultimate attack. It was the first time we had third-party characters becoming part of Brawl, as we had Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series, and we had Sonic from Sonic the Hedgehog appear for the very first time in Brawl. We had so many characters from games you've probably never even played. We had the Ice Climbers, we had Pit from Kid Icarus, we had Marth and Ike from Fire Emblem, we had Mr. Game & Watch, we had Olimar from Pikmin. I mean, I have played Pikmin, but a lot of you guys probably haven't. But what I really like about Brawl isn't all of that. It's actually the story mode of the game, the adventure mode, the Subspace Emissary. It was the second time a story mode was put into a Smash Bros game, as Melee was the first one to do it, but Brawl made it so much better. It had better graphics, of course, but it even had cutscenes. Yes, nobody actually properly speaks, because that's how Nintendo games usually go. But it was we had an entire story mode of where you go through and you unlock new characters almost every level. You have it even starts with a battle of Mario versus Kirby, and you can pick who you want to play as, and there are depending on who you pick as, depends on how the cutscene at the end of the fight is. If you pick Mario, the cutscene will be different, will be slightly different to if you pick Kirby. And Princess Peach and Zelda being kidnapped by Petey Piranha, who, if you choose to save Zelda, later you will fight as Mario and pit against Link and Yoshi. But if you save Princess Peach, you will play as Link and Yoshi and fight Mario and Pit later in the game. So, without being too obvious about it, Nintendo actually added choices. Added little choices into the game, which in the grand scheme of things didn't affect the story, but it just gave you different gameplay dynamics. Where something you did at the very start of the game affects who you play as in a fight later on. And I've never even finished Brawl due to the Great Maze being my stumbling block every single time. I always fail against I've never gotten past the Great Maze. I think I've come close to finishing it, but never actually finished it. Because basically, the Great Maze, you have to go through areas you've already been, so all the different areas you've already been to in the story, find a door with dark energy coming from it, go inside, fight the enemy, fight one of the characters you already have, and beat them. You have to do that with every single character in the game. Then come to a certain spot, and then you fight Taboo, the final boss, with every character with every single character in the game at your disposal, including Sonic. There's so many different locations from these Nintendo games for the characters that you go through. One of them is Meta Knight's ship. And really, you go to areas in the story mode that you just wouldn't go to in a normal battle. And that's why Super Smash Bros. Brawl comes in at number 23. Coming in at the number 22 spot is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. That's right, not 3. 2, because I've never played 3. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is the second game in the 3 Budokai Tenkaichi game series. The game was released back in 2006 after the success of Budokai Tenkaichi 1. It follows the story of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT, and there's so many different characters. The Budokai Tenkaichi series is known for its huge character roster. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 has the highest character roster of all in any Dragon Ball game, but Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is not far off. It has characters like Kid Goku, Kid Chi-Chi. Oh wait, no, that's only BT3. Kid Goku, Grandpa Gohan, the Pilaf Machine, Omega Shenron's first form, Shin Shenron, because most Dragon Ball games only have his ultimate form which is Omega Shenron, never his original form, that you first ever see him in GT as Sin Shenron. You have androids. You have Android 19 and Dr. Gero as playable characters, which we rarely ever see. Now, the gameplay was somewhat difficult. The controls were somewhat difficult for me, but that's more the console I played it on rather than the game itself. Because I played the game on the Nintendo Wii, because I didn't own a PS2, and the Wii was the only other thing that it was playable on. That's the only other console it came out for. So it was pretty difficult. I was having to go to the pause menu every 5 seconds to check my how, because the Nintendo Wii motion controls, you have to use motion controls to do your special and ultimate attacks. Quite frustrating. But when you get them down, they feel awesome. You fight the iconic locations like Namek, the Wasteland Goku and Vegeta fought at, the Cell Games Arena, the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. So many iconic locations from Dragon Ball Z. But you have it's the characters that really of why people love this specific sub-series of the Dragon Ball games series. So many characters, like Emperor Pilaf's robotic machines that him, Mai, and I can't remember what the dog in Pilaf's gang is called, but those three gaining machines in the original Dragon Ball. Like, there is barely any games that have original Dragon Ball characters, the 1986 to 89 original series. I mean, a lot of games do have Kid Goku, but they have the GT version of Kid Goku, not the original version of Kid Goku when we first ever met him, when he was getting run over and shot in the head by Bulma. And that's why Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 comes in at number 22. And coming in at the number 21 spot, the final spot of this video, is GTA 5. That's right, GTA 5 is on this list. GTA 5 is an amazing game. I've enjoyed everything I've played with it. The story mode was very different, as it was the first time we had multiple playable characters in the story mode at once, where outside of missions you could just switch to them at will. The characters themselves of Michael, Trevor and Franklin are all different. So it's not like they're very similar characters, they're all different characters, which is a good thing. The fact that you do these massive heists, that's a huge part of the story mode. How you organize all these huge heists that you do, and then you execute the heists. You have to plan out every single little detail. Like one of them you can either go in loud. You can go in loud, or you can go in quiet as disguised as the fire department. But you have to go and look for a fire station, or you can just call the fire service to you. I was a bit stupid and didn't realize you could well, no, I think I did know, I just never thought to actually do it. So I spent ages driving around looking for a fire station. Finally found one. So I then got a fire truck. When I did another playthrough of the game, I found a fire station very early on in the game, way before that heist I was ever going to be doing that heist. But you can mark things on the map as points of interest. That was a godsend, because Marking a fire station as a point of interest means you don't have to look for it when it comes to setting up for that heist. Because you can just set your waypoint to that point of interest and go to the fire station. But GTA 5's biggest success was its online multiplayer. GTA 4 did have multiplayer, but GTA 5's multiplayer was so great. In fact, it still gets supported to this day. The GTA 5 online multiplayer started in 2013, and it's now March of 2020, and GTA 5 Online still gets updates. Now, it's had tons of updates since I last played it, so it's likely the multiplayer is even better now than it was when I was playing it. But the amount of things you got to do in the multiplayer, you could play death matches against people. You could have death matches. You could do survival with co-op with other players. You could do races. You could do GTA races, which basically is the same thing, racing, but you can use weapons. I personally didn't like the GTA weapons because I always got killed. I always prefer doing regular races. But then they added stunt races into GTA 5, which are my favourite types of races to do. You could buy clothes, cars, masks. You could buy pretty much anything in the game that you can in the story mode. You can buy them online. Just earning money online is earning money without paying actual money to get the in-game money is a lot harder online than it is in the story mode. But I grinded the game on two different versions of the game, the 360 version and the PS4 version. I grinded, PS3/PS4 versions, because I had the same character on both. But I grinded the game both times to buy a Zentorno car without actually spending any real money to get it. I properly earned that car. But the number one thing that Rockstar added to GTA 5 Online that was a massive success was back in 2015 when they added online heists, where you and up to three friends online could do your own heist together. Miche and Connor have completed all 4 of the original heists that were added back in March of 2015. Actually, yeah, it's been 5 years now. Around this time 5 years ago was when the heists for GTA 5 were added. And we had the Prison Break heist Miche and Connor completed. We had I can't remember what... of course, we did the Felicia job heist, which was just a 2-player heist. The rest were 4 players. And in these heists, you usually had teams, 2 teams of 2 players each, doing different things at the same time to set up the heist. And you got graded on how well you did. You have bronze, silver, gold and platinum ranks for how well the players did doing their objectives. If you die, you're likely going to get bronze. But these heists were so well designed, like you always had to be thinking, what's the safest way to do something? Well, you could do that, or you could do what Miche and Connor did and just try and blow everything up. That usually works. We did all 4 heists. We did the first 3 heists in 2015, and then we were so close to finishing the 4th and final heist, the Pacific Standard job, in 2015, but Che just didn't survive, and we lost. Chase shot a cop with his shotgun when he was trying to get away, but somehow the cop lived and killed him, and that was our last life. But the worst feeling about it was the other random guy we were playing with, because you have to have 4 players in a heist. It's a 4-player minimum and maximum. Only if you don't have 4 players, then you can't do the heist. But we got our redemption back in 2017, where we finally, on the PS4 version this time instead of the Xbox 360 version, we finally completed the Pacific Standard Job heist, and we were so happy when we finally got it over and done with, because it had been over a year since we attempted it, when we finally did attempt it again. So yeah, great story, great characters, but the online is where it really excelled, and that's why GTA 5 comes in at number 21. So that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the very first episode of this 5-part mini-series of my top 25 favourite video games of all time. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, follow me on all my social medias, and until next time guys, catch you later.